Empire.
Welcome to Inside the Cap. I'm your host, Joel Corey. You can find me on Twitter at CoreyJoel. That's CorryJoel. I also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agent's Take on NFL salary cap and contract matters. This time we are going to take a look at the major events which have happened in the last 7 days. Trades, beginning of free agency, etc. First thing we're going to start off with is the first mind-boggling contract we had signed over the past 7 days, which was the Aaron Rodgers contract. It was announced on Tuesday that Aaron Rodgers had finally signed a new contract with the Packers. Now, it was 5 years in length, the contract. He was under contract for the 2022 season. 2023 was not a real contract year anymore. It's a voiding dummy year, so he was going to be a free agent in 2023, or his contract was going to expire after the 2022 season. He was scheduled to make $26,970,588 in 2022. That was his total compensation. Now, the way this deal worked out is over the 5 years, 2022 through 2026, the cash, it was $186.765 million. The salaries in the last 2 years are low, $20.9 million in 2025 and $15.05 million in cash in 2026. So the idea is it's really a 3-year deal, 2-year extension where Rodgers, if he's going to be like Tom Brady and continue playing football well into his 40s in 2025, they'll renegotiate that contract because there's no way Aaron Rodgers is playing for basically $35.95 million over those 2 years. That's not going to happen. So you have to look at this deal as a 3-year deal. Now, if you do that, the deal total is $150.85 million over 3 years. That breaks down to an average of $50,271,167 per year. Ordinarily, you look at contracts in terms of new money. If you look at it as a 2-year extension, the new money average is $61,922,206. I'm not looking at it that way, because you can kind of tell when there's an extension. And in this case, the final 3 digits of the cash total after the 5 years, or the cash total after the 3 years, would end in 588. So I'm not looking at this as a new money deal. The overall guarantees are $150.665 million, which at the time he signed was the most ever NFL contract. The money fully guaranteed at signing was $101.515 million, which at the time he signed the contract was the most money fully guaranteed ever in an NFL contract. Now, the contract has a unique structure. It has a $40.8 million third day of the 2022 league year roster bonus. It's fully guaranteed at signing. Now, the reason it's a roster bonus, not a signing bonus, is so if Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to retire, that money is his. Because with a fully guaranteed roster bonus, that money is his free and clear after the 2022 league years. The team does not have any rights of recoupment after this upcoming league year, this current league year, I should say, ends. If for signing bonus, they would have had the right to get back if he retired after the 2022 season, $32.64 million, and since that $40.8 million is prorated on the cap at $8.16 million, they get $8.16 million for each year left on the contract when he retired. That's what they'd have the right to get back from him. Now, it's got a option bonus of $53.8 million in 2023, and another option bonus of $47 million in 2024. Most contracts, if they use an option bonus structure, only have one option bonus, not two. And the 2023 option bonus is to pick up the 2025 year. You prorate through the option years, both of them, so that $58.3 million gets prorated on the cap at $14.575 million 2023 through 2026. And then the 2024 option bonus gets prorated 2024 through 2026 at $15,566,666 in 2024 and 25, and then $15,666,668 in 2026. With option bonuses, they're treated the same way as roster bonuses in terms of recoupment. A breach would have to occur in the year that the money is earned. 2023 for the first option bonus, 2024 for the second option bonus. So if Rodgers retired after 2023, but before the 2024 option bonus would become due and payable, he'd get to keep the $58.3 million. His signing bonus, he'd been in a position, if they made all that signing bonus, obviously they wouldn't have got much cap relief, but he'd be in a position where he'd have to give that money back, the prorated portions. But as option bonuses, that's not anything which is going to happen. So that's part of the reason they did it. Also, when you do a structure like this, you keep the cap numbers manageable the first 2 years, the first years, couple of years, then they spike in the later years. This type of structure is used in Myles Garrett's contract. He had 2 option bonuses. You don't see it all that often. The Ravens did it with Joe Flacco, 2 option bonuses. The Eagles have done it for a couple of guys like Jordan Mailata, but you really don't see this type of structure used very often in the NFL because there are 3 sets of proration in this deal. So that's one of the main reasons. Now, the Packers have his cap number drop from $46,664,156 to $28,563,568. So they pick up $18,100,588 at 2022 cap room. The cap number in 2023 is just over $31.6 million, then a little over $40.7 in 2024. Those are manageable. Cap numbers spike in 2025 and 2026. Cap number in 2025 is just over $59.3 million, and in 2026 it's just over $53.45 million. So those last 2 years are going to be, when he may not be playing, are going to be problematic. Now, let's say Aaron Rodgers decided to retire, or they traded him after 2022. Then, because the $40.8 million fully guaranteed roster bonus is prorated through the 5 years, the Packers would have $32.64 million in dead money. And that's assuming it's a trade which would occur before June 2nd. Now, let's say that they trade him in 2024, and it would be before the date to pick up the option. And the thing about the date to pick up the option, it's an extended period. Because normally when you have to pick up an option, it's usually in the first 5 or 10 days of a league year. But for each of these options, the window begins the first day of the 2023 league year and runs until a day before Green Bay's first 2023 regular season game. It works that way in 2024 as well. So extended window. So that means if they wanted to trade him, they could, and the option bonus proration from 2023 or 2024, if they traded him before each of those years, before exercise the option, would go to the new team, and it wouldn't be bonus proration they'd have to contend with. But after you have the $53.8 million 2023 option bonus get prorated, then that starts changing the equation on the dead money. So let's say they wanted to trade Aaron Rodgers in 2024, but before they picked up the 2026 league year, or 2026 option year, because you now have the proration from the option bonus on your books, you'd have to contend with $68.205 million of dead money. So that would work for a trade or retirement in 2024 before that option for 2026 is picked up. Now, let's say Rodgers decided to retire after the 2024 season when both those options have been exercised. So the one thing that's going to make the team exercise the option, because his base salaries in 2023 and 2024 will be $1.65 million and $2.25 million. If they're not exercised, then his cap number, his base salary is a fully guaranteed $59.465 million. If the first option is exercised in 2023, then his base salary is $49.25 million, which will be fully guaranteed by the time you get to picking that year up. You can't handle those cap numbers, so the high base salaries are put there to make sure you exercise the option. So let's say he retires after the 2024 season. Then the Packers are dealing with $76,803,334 in dead money. There is no way around having massive dead money in this contract for the Packers if Aaron Rodgers is done playing football after those 3 years. It's almost like they need him to keep playing football. I don't know where the cap's going to be at that point, but that's a massive amount of dead money. Now, if they would hold him on the books, most likely, at the minimum base salary. They'll do what the Saints did of Drew Brees if he was retiring, drop his base salary down to his league minimum for that year, and then take the cap hit over 2 years where they have basically $38.4 million of dead money in 2025 and 2026 for each of those years. Now, people are going to be critical of Aaron Rodgers because he's got one Super Bowl. It looks like he's trying to grab every last dollar, fully exploit his leverage. When in his late 30s, he should be, in a lot of people's eyes, more concerned about trying to help Green Bay put together the best roster for him to be a 2-time or 3-time Super Bowl champion. Drew Brees never gave the Saints any breaks contractually until his last couple of contracts he signed when he was in his late 30s. Rodgers isn't doing that. But one thing Rodgers can say with this contract is, hey, I didn't sign a $50 million per year contract. I'm under contract for 5 years. And the 5-year amount on this contract averages $37.355 million per year. Or if you want to look at a 4-year extension, my 4-year extension's under $40 million per year. And that's because it averages $39 million, the new money for 4 years, $948,603. Now, people around the league are going to look at it as a 3-year deal for a shade just under $50.275 million. Any agent who's going to try to use this deal and go, the new money average is basically $62 million, will get laughed at by a team. So that's not going to happen with this particular deal.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. With LinkedIn becoming #1 in B2B display advertising in the US, you've got a great advantage. With their tools, you can stand out against your competitors while nurturing customer relationships and growing your brand. So scale your marketing and grow your business with LinkedIn advertising. As a thank you to their customers for helping them grow 3 times faster than the competition, LinkedIn is offering a $100 credit on your next campaign. Just go to linkedin.com/marketing.
We had another blockbuster drop on Friday, and that's because DeShaun Watson was narrowing down his choices for where he wanted to play, and there are only certain teams that he was entertaining to waive his no-trade clause. The Panthers, who were eliminated from consideration, the Browns, who were eliminated consideration, The two front runners were his hometown Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. After the Browns were eliminated from consideration, they took their best shot in trying to get him to join them, and money talks, because they gave him an offer he can't refuse. It's what should be a game-changing contract. He was under contract for $136 million over 4 years. He is now under contract for 5 years at $230 million for an average of $46 million per year. And the entire $230 million is fully guaranteed at signing. This is a basketball type guarantee. You have basketball players like Steph Curry, who signed a 4-year extension. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, and I'm not even sure if I said his name properly, signed a $230 million extension, just a shade under that, like 228 and some change, which is kicking in this year, signed in December 2020. That's a basketball contract with that type of guaranteed money. It more than doubles the amount that was fully guaranteed in Rodgers' contract, which was the standard just a few days ago. Now, it's a very clean deal, this DeShaun Watson deal. I've said that $35 million of cap room to fit him in with the trade, and then they changed the contract, where signing bonus is $44.965 million, the base salary is $1.035 million, and then he has $46 million fully guaranteed his salary in 2023 through 2026. Who cares about whether the contract is front-loaded, back-loaded, when it's fully guaranteed? So I don't like flat deals, but flat deals for most players aren't fully guaranteed, so your guarantees run out in the first couple of years. So you want to get more money sooner rather than later, so you don't have team options with a bunch of money in them. But here it's fully guaranteed, so it doesn't really matter in terms of your cash flow each year. So the cap hit this year is going to be $10.028 million, and then his cap number in each of the next 4 years, $54.993 million. You're going to see the Browns exercise their right to convert salary. Some portion of the 23 base salary presumably will be turned into signing bonus or its equivalent at some point in time before the start, next offseason, before the start of their 2023 league year, to clear cap room. Now, the Browns gave up 3 first-round picks and like a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick to get him. This is going to be a controversial trade because there's going to be portions of the Cleveland fan base who want no parts of DeShaun Watson because of the sexual assault misconduct allegations. That's how the Philadelphia fan base was when Michael Vick got out of prison because of dogfighting, cruelty to animal charges. And then once Michael Vick became the starter and started playing well, a certain segment of that fan base was okay with him. If Cleveland wins a Super Bowl with DeShaun Watson, he'll be beloved in the city by most people. There'll still be some people who won't feel good about him being the quarterback unless he is completely absolved of all the allegations. There's no criminal charges. He's probably still going to be facing a suspension of the personal conduct policy. But one of the things that was supposedly addressed here is that the pre-existing allegations, the guarantees don't void because of pre-existing allegations. Because typically guarantees do void with any type of suspension. And also because the signing bonus is basically all of his salary or compensation in 2022, besides the minimum base salary. Suspensions are not off of your total compensation. They're based on your base salary. So for each game Watson is suspended, presumably this year, under the personal conduct policy, because you don't need to be criminally liable to have a personal conduct policy suspension. Ask Ezekiel Elliott and Ben Roethlisberger about that. It might be a 6-game suspension. So he would lose 1/18th of $1.035 million. So basically $57,500 for each week he's suspended. 6 games. So for 6 weeks, 6 games, that'd be $345,000. So that's a minimal amount. Some people have a bad taste about that, feel that the Browns are trying to circumvent or help him circumvent the suspension. But the Patriots did have Tom Brady in 2016. His base salary was at $1 million that year when he had the 4-game suspension for Deflategate. So he lost like $235,000 because the bulk of his money was in signing bonus. Some people have a big problem with the fact that DeShaun Watson is getting rewarded with a new contract of this magnitude, although he has this cloud hanging over him. That doesn't sit well with some people as well. You can also look at it from the standpoint that Watson basically got $94 million for 1 new year. Had they kept the contract as is and then stuck a franchise tag on him in 2026, then I'll say that the franchise tag at a minimum would be $46.552 million. The reason I'm saying that is I'm assuming that they would convert all but minimum base salary into signing bonus this year if they kept the deal as is. So that would raise his cap number for 2025 to $38.9793 million. 20% raise off of that gets you to $46.552 million. So essentially, he's getting $47.5 million more dollars than had they kept the old deal and they franchised him in 2026. Well, Watson getting $230 million fully guaranteed under the circumstances proves that talent is the overriding consideration when it comes to great players. Now, the next step in all this is to see if this is going to have some sort of impact on other players getting fully guaranteed contracts. Kirk Cousins got the first fully guaranteed contract for a veteran player in 2018, at least one of contract of any consequence, when he signed with Minnesota Vikings. The next 2 guys up didn't capitalize on that. That was Matt Ryan, who got $94.5 million fully guaranteed at signing, and Aaron Rodgers in 2018 when they both signed their deals to come the highest paid player respectively at $30 million and $33.5 million per year. So we're going to need whoever's next up to really take advantage of this deal if we're going to see more fully guaranteed contracts. And the next 2 quarterbacks up could be Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals, and Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. Jackson is in his 5th-year option, and Kyler Murray wants a new deal in the worst way. And then we'll have to see if it goes to a non-quarterback as well. I would say if there's going to be a non-quarterback to try to push that envelope, it would be Nick Bosa with the 49ers, who was eligible for a contract extension. And the Niners are pretty proactive in when they sign their core players. It'll be curious to see how those deals shake out. One thing you're going to see, particularly with the young quarterbacks, is they should be trying to push for the fully guaranteed contract, and teams are going to try to hold the line by saying this is an unusual circumstance, that I can see some teams trying to say it's an anomaly. He was kind of a quasi-free agent because they were going to have to trade him to a team of his liking because of no trade clause. So he wasn't dealing with a closed system like a Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert will be, where they can only negotiate with their own team. That since he had to approve the no trade clause, approve where it's going to because of no trade clause, that a team was going to have to go above and beyond the call of duty to ensure they got Watson. So his situation is unique compared to yours. This is what teams are going to try to spin. I hope agents or position it. I hope agents dismiss that and kind of hold the line. And it may take one of these quarterbacks pushing the envelope in the way Cousins did by being willing to play on a franchise tag or two. That's how Cousins got his. And the guy where I could see that being the biggest issue and Watson getting the fully guaranteed contract is probably going to fundamentally change how the Browns have to do business, particularly in Burrow's case. The three teams, the Browns, Packers, and Steelers, who for the most part, not the Browns, the Bengals, Packers, and Steelers, who for the most part don't do salary guarantees for veteran contracts. Packers have made one exception, and that's Aaron Rodgers. The contracts which have made him the highest paid player in the league have all had base salary guarantees. No other veteran has. They have second and third year roster bonuses in March, which are unsecured to substitute for guarantees. And the only true guaranteed money for everybody else besides Aaron Rodgers has been signing bonus. The Steelers had that policy where the only exception they made had been with Ben Roethlisberger. He had injury guarantees in it for base salaries, but not skill and cap guarantees where the base salaries are fully guaranteed. With T.J. Watt, when he became the highest paid non-quarterback right before the regular season started, they gave him $80 million fully guaranteed at signing, base salary guarantees. Bengals haven't been afraid to pay people, contrary to popular belief. I believe it was the end of the 2005 season they made Carson Palmer the highest paid player in the league, so they should have no issue making Joe Burrow the highest paid player in the league. He's done more than Carson Palmer did. Carson Palmer looked like he might be on the way to winning the playoff game when he tore his ACL against Steelers, but Joe Burrow got him to the Super Bowl. Are you really going to stick to your antiquated policy on guarantees, and that's going to be your hill to die on with Joe Burrow? That's how he plays on a franchise tag or two and walks. In my estimation, I could be wrong. But I think that's where they're at least going to have to do a conventional structure for Joe Burrow, where he's got the normal or the typical salary guarantees that you've seen in quarterback deals prior to this DeShaun Watson deal. There's going to be more fallout from this deal from the quarterback position, besides what it's going to do for the younger quarterbacks and potentially change the structure of how contracts are on a go-forward basis. Browns now have to move Baker Mayfield, who's on a fifth-year option for $18.858 million. They're not dealing from a position of strength because everybody knows they have to move him. So for them to get Sam Darnold compensation in return, I don't think that's extremely realistic, even though Baker Mayfield has played better than Sam Darnold has. There's one fewer year left on the contract now than with Darnold when the Panthers gave up a second, fourth, and sixth round pick for him. If you can get a day 2 pick for Baker Mayfield, the Browns should probably take it. Mayfield wants to go to the Indianapolis Colts. To me, the Seahawks might make some sense for him as well. They may have to eat some of that fully guaranteed option, fifth-year option, to facilitate the trade, and also that may increase the compensation they get in return for that. The Panthers ate a little over $7 million in salary by converting money from base salary into signing bonus to facilitate Teddy Bridgewater's trade to the Broncos right before the draft last year after they had gotten Sam Darnold. So you might see something like that. Now, the Atlanta Falcons were hot on the trail for DeShaun Watson, so it's going to be interesting to see the fallout from Matt Ryan. They were going to convert his $7.5 million third day of the league year roster bonus, which would have been on Friday, to signing bonus, and held off on that during the Watson sweepstakes, and both sides agreed to push the roster bonus back to this upcoming Tuesday, the 22nd. Now, is Matt Ryan going to be so offended by this he wants out and doesn't want to play for the Falcons anymore, and they accommodate him? Or is he going to be the quarterback on a go-forward basis? Or do they just outright release him? They'd have $40.525 million in dead money for a trade, which happens before June 2nd. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. We also had another big quarterback deal come in terms of Matthew Stafford. Stafford on Saturday agreed to a 4-year, $160 million extension with the Rams. His $60 million signing bonus is the third largest signing bonus in league history. 66 by Dak Prescott is first. Russell Wilson at $65 million, and now Stafford at $60 million. His cap number was $23 million. $10 million was a fifth day of the league year roster bonus, which is why you have the timing that you have on this deal. His cap number drops to $9.75 million because he's got a $1.5 million fully guaranteed base salary. There's a $26 million option bonus in 2023. It's a structure that they've used previously in contracts. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me. Typically, they're one of the few teams that does some guarantees without offsets, so I'm sure that's the case. There's $135 million in total guarantees. I'm counting the full guarantee at $89 million, even though I'm just going off of reports which have a breakdown of the contract. I'm assuming that the entire 2023 base salary for now is fully guaranteed at $27.5 million, and it drops to $1.5 million fully guaranteed, and the $26 million when the $26 million option bonus is paid to pick up the 2026 year. Now, to me, this is a situation where Matthew Stafford left some money on the table, and I saw characterizations that the reports that he said he just wanted a fair deal and wanted to help the Rams be able to sign other players. That's totally his prerogative, and I understand after winning the Super Bowl, and he's made, I think, almost $240 million in his career heading into the offseason. That's from his NFL contract, that he's in a position to do that more so than other players. Given that he won a Super Bowl after they traded him, he had the leverage, if he wanted to, probably be the second highest paid player in the league. Definitely more than Patrick Mahomes, but that's not what he chose to do. Now, where this could have more of an immediate impact is we may have the market or the goalposts kind of defined for a Derek Carr contract extension with the Raiders. We had Cousins get a one-year extension at $35 million, and now we have Stafford at $40 million. So if Carr, now that he's being reunited with his former college teammate Devonte Adams, which we'll get to shortly, is he going to not try to get as much money as he can? And he's going to go more the Stafford route, and if so, where does that deal land? Is it $40 million, $35 million, $37 million? But I think we have those parameters kind of set. It'll be interesting to see what Russell Wilson does, presumably next year. He says he wants to win 3-4 more Super Bowls while he's in Denver. Well, his first contract, I think, made him the second highest paid. It's either the second or third highest paid player in the league. And then his second veteran contract, he became the highest paid player in the league. So is he going to try to go over $50 million per year when he signs the extension, or is it going to be 45? Because he's leaving a little money on the table for the good of the team. It's not a player's obligation to help a team manage the salary cap, but if he wants to do that, that is his prerogative. I've seen some people question why I would say that Stafford didn't fully exploit his leverage, and I had criticisms of Patrick Mahomes. The criticisms for Patrick Mahomes were for different reasons. One, we're talking third contract, veteran contract versus first veteran contract. Two, it's a 10-year extension. That basically runs through the bulk of his career. The deal's already it's already outdated because he hasn't even played his first new year on the contract, and you got two guys who are over it if you just take the total value of the deals. And I'm taking the first 3 years of Rodgers and the 5-year total for Watson at $46 million per year. So he's going to keep dropping, and at some point he's not going to be happy about that. So the better he plays and the more quarterbacks who keep going above him, eventually it's going to get to the point where Kansas City is going to have to do something about it. I don't know if that's in 2025, 26, 27, but they're going to have to address that thing at some point in time out of fundamental fairness. And that's why you don't do a 10-year deal. You didn't see anybody else doing that. Dak Prescott couldn't get a deal done last year because the Cowboys wanted 5 years. 2 years ago when he was franchised. He wanted to give up only 4. He did a 4-year deal this time around with no franchise tag. Or the third franchise, they can't put a franchise tag on him because he's got one of those clauses. So they're going to have to come a year early. So you're really going to see more the 4-5-year model than you're going to see basically signing a lifetime contract, but enough on that. Let's move on to Devonte Adams. Packers had franchised Devonte Adams for $20.12 million. He said he wasn't going to play in the franchise tag. He wanted to be the highest paid wide receiver. He gets traded for a 2022 first and second round pick to the Raiders, which was the team he rooted for growing up, and he's back for his college quarterback. Now, when you look at this deal, it was initially reported at $141.5 million over 5 years. And I'm thinking, wow, he's the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Man, he's really going to fundamentally change the receiver market. No. This is a case where I fell into the trap of believing the reports of a deal instead of waiting for the numbers to come out. Yes, it's the biggest contract ever signed by a receiver, but it's not quite what it's cracked up to be. Signing bonus of $19.25 million, base salary this year $3.5 million fully guaranteed. He's got annual per game roster bonuses of $500,000, annual workout bonuses of $100,000. So it's on paper $140 over 5 years, $28 million per year to get to the $1.25 million total. He has to make the Pro Bowl each year. That's a likely to be, unless it's coupled with something, that's a likely to be earned incentive, and it's going to count against the cap. So that means his cap number is 8.2 in 2022. Thing is, it's got the most money fully guaranteed, total guarantee, I should say, of a of a wide receiver contract at $65.7 million, from what I can tell. But the amount which is fully guaranteed at signing, because the way the guarantees vest, is only $22.75 million. So it's really basically $67.5 million over 3 years, because the last 2 years are inflated with base salaries of over $35 million. This kind of reminds me of the Alvin Kamara deal. It's $75 million over 5 years for Kamara, but there's $25 million in the last year, so it's really, he's not going to play for that. Just like Adams isn't going to play for base salaries over $35 million 3 and 4 years from now. I mean, going into year 4 and year 5. So with Kamara, it's really realistically $12.5 million per year, because that year 5 there is just inflate the average. And you see that a lot. So the agent could use the deal in recruiting by saying, I got the guy X amount, or he's the highest paid guy at his position, and in recruiting, players are none the wiser. This is strictly so he can say that on paper it's more than DeAndre Hopkins. And the new money average in Hopkins is $27.25 million per year. The problem, or why some people call that an outlier, want to discount it, is he had 3 years left on his contract. Now, getting back to what I said about Rodgers early on, that if it was really a negotiation over new money, then the total value would have ended in 588, because that would have lined up with what he had left on his contract. With Hopkins, the last 2 digits for what he had remaining on his contract, I think it was $39.915 million, was 1.5. When you look at the total of what Hopkins got over the 5 years, it's like $94.415 million, which to me is a giveaway that they were negotiating over new money, because he's not going to sign a deal which averages $18.883 million per year. It would be like $95 million over 5 years, and then you back out what was left, and you would go, wait a minute, they just ripped it up. But no, that was a negotiation over new money. But I initially thought, oh man, Adams is at 28. Wow, Chris Godwin the day before signed at 20. Now Godwin signing for $60 million over 3 years is right in line with this $22.5 million, $67.5 million over 3 years, $22.5 million of the average of the first 3 years. Now, my initial take on Godwin was, unless I can get what I want, knowing they can't stick another tag on me, because it'd be the quarterback number in 2023, I'm not signing anything long term. Now, you could also take in consideration that, okay, he tore his ACL and MCL, so if he signs for some security now, and it's 3 years, he doesn't have to rush back this year. He can see where the market continues to go, because you got like Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson may have a new deal by that time, and Tyreek Hill should get a new contract this year. He's in a contract year. They may move the market some. And then, in knowing that they can't stick a third franchise tag on him, they'd have to come to him at the beginning of 2024 or before the 2024 season is over and get him done again. And he'll have leverage by the fact that he would definitely be walking if they don't get a deal done. So, coupled with Adams the deal not being what I thought it was, and that dynamic, I don't have the same thought process I did before with Godwin. I probably, and the agent is driven by what the client wants to do. So that's first and foremost the first priority. So I'm not sure whether I would have played it out or now when you start taking that into consideration. I might still lean towards playing it out. case can be made for going either way. We also saw another one of these deals, which is inflated in Von Miller. Von Miller signed for $120 million over 6 years to go to the Buffalo Bills. He's got $45 million fully guaranteed at signing, $51.435 million in overall guarantees in this contract. There's $30 million in the last year of Von Miller's contract. So when he's 38, he's not going to be playing for $30 million. So that was really so Miller can say I signed a $20 million per year contract. And I got a raise from my last 6-year deal that I signed when I was franchised after being the Super Bowl 50 MVP. That deal averaged just under 19-1. So another one of these deals which are inflated for cosmetic purposes, that's not the real deal. I really look at this first 3 years of the deal. Von Miller, $52.5 million, $17.5 million per year average. That's probably what the deal is. We'll see how much longer he plays after that time frame, but that's really what you should probably call the deal. Signing bonus of $18.525 million in the deal, which is getting prorated $3.705 million. So let's say he's done after 3 years. There'd be $11.115 million of dead money that the Bills will have to contend with, which, as the cap continues to go up, would be extremely manageable. Okay, let's take a brief look at some of the developments in free agency. If there hadn't been so much stuff going on this week, we take a bigger look at free agency. But first, we're going to go to the deal which was the most surprising to me, which was Christian Kirk with the Jaguars. When the deal was reported initially, I was like, all right, I'm skeptical to see if this is really what it's cracked up to be. It is. $72 million over 4 years is the base value. There's $37 million fully guaranteed at signing, and the deal is up to 100. There's another $12 million in incentives each year. So we're already talking 84, 72. So it's up to 84. So that means this deal could average, I don't know what the thresholds are, but it's up to $21 million per year. And this is a guy who spent 76% of his time in the slot last year, taking over for Larry Fitzgerald, with him retiring. He's never had a 1,000-yard season. So this deal drives up the price for the 2019 second-round picks who are up, to Deebo Samuels, the DK Metcalfs, and the A.J. Browns. They're thinking, if he's at 18, he's never had a 1,000-yard year. What am I worth? And also, Hunter Renfrow probably is paying close attention to this deal as well. Hunter Renfrow was over 1,000 yards, 100 catches, statistically superior to Kirk last year, at least from raw statistics. So this contract just made that negotiation more difficult in trying to do an extension with him with the Raiders. Jaguars gone on a tremendous spending spree this year. They're spending money at a rate like the Patriots did last year, but we'll see whether it pays dividends. They can't get any worse. One of the moves they made was making Brandon Scherff the highest paid interior offensive lineman, highest paid guard. That was expected, because we'd seen that in free agency in the past, that you got a Pro Bowl caliber guard hit the open market, whether it's Kevin Zeitler, Kelechi Osemele, Andrew Norwell, Joe Thuney. They become the highest paid guard. He signed for $16.5 million per year. Deal maxes out at $17.5 million per year. He'd made basically $16.5 a year on his 2 franchise tags, so I thought that was going to be the floor for him. So he's the highest paid guard. And they had some head scratching deals like Zay Jones getting $8 million per year. But they're trying to upgrade the talent and particularly help Trevor Lawrence, the first overall pick in last year's draft. So we'll see how this translates into the win column. Now, deal which surprised me on the other end was J.C. Jackson's, because I would have been targeting to try to be the highest paid corner in the league, considering he's had the most interceptions over the past 3 years with 22, had 23 pass defense last year, which led the NFL, was second interceptions with 8. I really thought he was going to do better, and I thought Carlton Davis would do better than the $15 million per year that he got to stay with the Bucs. Part of that might be the Tom Brady factor, where you got guys who are willing to come back now that Brady came out of retirement who wouldn't have otherwise, like Ryan Jensen signing for $13 million per year when his agent Mike McCartney, who represents Cousins, thought he might be able to get $15 million and become the highest paid center. So that's kind of the Brady effect. But with J.C. Jackson, he couldn't do any more than he did this year, and he basically gets the same deal Byron Jones got with less guarantees, fewer guarantees. There's $40 million fully guaranteed at signing, $40 million overall guarantees from what I can tell. It's $82 million over 5 years. Signing bonus is $25, which is a pretty steep signing bonus for a non-quarterback. Pretty big one. But Byron Jones, 2 years ago, when the cap was $198.2 million, signed for $82 million over 5 years, $16.5 million per year. Byron Jones is not the player that J.C. Jackson is. So this deal came in lower than I thought it would. If I was going to take what was below what my expectations were, and as I said before, you're driven by your client and what he wants to do, I would have been leaning 3-year deal, and try to hit the market again in 2025, because I guess the trade-off you'd have to ask yourself is, in heading into 2025, would my client be worth $16.8 a year, because that's the value of those last 2 years, $16.8. So would he be worth that at that point in time? And if so, I'm looking at the API. Well, wrong. That's the wrong analysis. I'm looking at what the average is after each year. So really, he's got $28.125 million. So it really should be, is my client going to be worth $14 million, $62,500 per year at 2025 would be the equation. I might take that. I'd take that bet and would have done a shorter term deal. But that one came in on the other end. And one last thing I want to talk about is, man, the AFC West is really loading up to be the division of death, because you already had the Chiefs, who have been the class of the division, and every other team is trying to compete. The Chargers are doing whatever they can to take advantage of the window they have. Well, Justin Herbert is still the cheapest he's ever going to be on his rookie contract. They traded for Khalil Mack. They re-signed Mike Williams to a 3-year contract at $20 million per year. They go out and get J.C. Jackson. They get Sebastian Joseph Day to come over for the Rams to help plug the gaping hole they had in the middle of the defensive line, where they couldn't stop the run last year. Denver is up there, Andy. They went out and got Russell Wilson, have Randy Gregory coming over, poached him from the Cowboys. So they got the Raiders now. Shipped out Yannick Ngakoue, signed Chandler Jones, who had a Patriots pedigree, so reunites with Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniel. They made the trade for Devonte Adams. There's one thing I didn't say about the Devonte Adams trade that I'm going to address now. Some people were comparing it to the compensation to the Jamal Adams trade, where Adams went for more than 2 first-round picks. Don't do that. It's not an appropriate comparison. It's apples to oranges. The most you were ever going to get, Green Bay was ever going to get for Devonte Adams was 2 first-round picks, because that is the compensation that a team gets when they don't match an offer sheet. That's by CBA rule. So why did the Raiders ever give up more than 2 first-round picks? Now, first and second is pretty consistent with what the sign and trade, franchise player sign and trade compensation is. Could the Raiders have signed an offer sheet that Green Bay wouldn't have matched? Yeah, but then it was going to have to be so cap unfriendly that the Raiders wouldn't really, they could renegotiate it once he got there to make it more cap friendly. But then they'd probably have to change the timing to where it would put Green Bay at a more disadvantageous time in order to do it. So getting the first and second seems fair to me. Supposedly Green Bay was willing to meet the pay him the same money that the Raiders are. But probably too much water under the bridge. They negotiated with them last year, couldn't get anything done. Viewed the Hopkins contract as an outlier. And I'll say, and I've seen situations like that, and I'll give you one very high-profile one. For those of you who don't know, I got my start in the business working for Leonard Armato, who was Shaquille Olajuwon, Ronnie Lott, and Hakeem Olajuwon's agent. And I was still doing consulting for him when Shaq was a free agent with the Orlando Magic. Everything we were looking to do, our first choice was to go back to Orlando. We were doing, because I still shared office space with Leonard after I'd left to help form a company that represented football players. We took all the football players with us. The most amicable split you'll see in the business, but that's for a different time. But getting back to this, there were marketing deals being done for specifically geared towards Orlando, and there was one in particular. There had been a deal agreed to where Universal Studios was going to put up the money. Shaq was putting up no money for a Shaq's Place themed restaurant at Universal Studios. So we're thinking he's staying. I was tasked by Leonard with trying to find out what we can and can't do under the salary cap, or what our salary cap constraints were, with some sort of ancillary money outside of the contract, which was basically every idea we had was going to be considered circumventing the cap. But that was all geared toward Orlando. Now, Orlando comes out, gives Shaq a lowball first offer of $54 million over 4 years. Talks about how they have to save money for Penny next year in a conference call where I was on, doing basically listening, not talking. Criticized his rebounding. So it's like they counted up, okay, what could other teams do when they make the offer instead of coming out and here's what we want to pay. And we were looking for $120 million. We were looking for $20 million a year over 7 years, went out after 3. And by the time they got to the point where they were willing to do something which made sense to us, we'd gotten so far down the road with the Lakers because they were moving heaven and earth, showing Shaq love. And also there was a stupid poll that came out during this time. And it was about a 2.5 week time frame where all this was taking place. That with the 1996 Olympic team, the Orlando Sentinel ran a poll with Shaq worth $100 million, and almost it was overwhelmingly no, like 90-10 against it, which didn't help. So by the time Orlando at the 11th hour was like, hey, we'll beat the Lakers, too little, too late. So to me, this might be a situation that if Green Bay had done what they needed to do last year, he'd have signed, no problem. But you get to this point, it can be the player goes, you know what? You've known me, you've had me, you dragged your feet, I'm out. And I think that's what happened in this case, just like what happened when Shaq was a free agent. So for people who were saying Shaq was always going to go to L.A., I have inside knowledge about how that happened. No, we were thinking Orlando. But anyway, that's just to illustrate the point that sometimes a player can get fed up with his own team. And even if they do finally come with the money that needed to be put on the table earlier, he's already moved on. But anyway, that's going to be this week's Inside the Cap. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter at Corey Joel, that's CORRYJOEL, and also read my CBSSports.com Agent State. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.